back in July of 2021, just a few months before Anthony took me to a Staten Island pizzeria and kicked off one of the craziest adventures of our lives. He invited me on another food adventure. He told me there were these two rival restaurants in South Brooklyn, Brennan and Carr and Roll and Roaster. He said they were both famous for making these insane roast beef sandwiches, and he wanted to try them both, back to back, on the same day. This is the story of the world's first roast beef rally. To help tell this story, I asked Anthony to sit down with me and recount the events of arguably the dumbest thing we've ever done.
The roast beef rally, it's not a real thing, it's just a kind of spur of the moment name we gave to a thing we did, where we went out to these two restaurants in Brooklyn that are famous for their roast beef sandwiches and ate an entire meal at both places within about an hour of each other.
How did you find out about these two places?
So Brennan and Carr, I found out about from an episode of Man vs. Food. Adam Richmond, the host, is from Brooklyn, actually, so he was like, these are my neighborhood spots. And I think I found out about Roll and Roaster probably just from some food blog. And finding out about Roll and Roaster is how I found out that there's actually kind of a rivalry between the two, and from people in that neighborhood about which one they prefer. But this seemed like a pretty contained one. It's not like pizza in New York where it's like, you know, where there are hundreds of restaurants. It was just like, you're from this neighborhood in Sheepshead Bay. Which one of the two are you?
So Anthony and I were curious to try them both and pick our favorite. But why did we have to go to both restaurants on the same day? Great question.
I think in my head I was like, all right, this is Sheepshead Bay. It's a bit of a trek to get out there from where we are, and they're kind of close to each other. We might as well go to both. But instead of doing what a normal person would do, which is like share a sandwich at both places, I was just like, let's eat two whole meals.
I was super down. So with our plan in place and our stomachs empty, we headed down to the first of our two stops, Brennan and Carr. I'll let Anthony describe it for you.
It's like a pretty old school place. I think it's been around since like the 30s or something. It's like wood paneling and like all these old school decor everywhere. And yeah, they just serve roast beef sandwiches. That's their specialty. And they also serve like burgers and, you know, corn nuggets and stuff like that. It's like a really good Arby's, essentially.
Like a really good Arby's.
Yeah. I hope the people at Brennan and Carr aren't insulted by that description.
On our way down, Anthony told me that the main gimmick at Brennan and Carr is that you can have your roast beef sandwich prepared one of three ways, depending on how much broth you want. The broth is famous at this place, and it's where most of the flavor comes from.
The first way is if you just get the meat dipped in the broth and then put on the bread, that's called a dingle dangle. And then if you take that, the dingle dangle, and then you dip the whole sandwich into the broth, that's called the double dip. And then if you take that, the double dip, and then you just ladle a whole thing of broth onto the plate, that's called a KFJ, which is the knife and fork job.
And we both got double dips.
Yeah, we both got double dips.
The sandwich was phenomenal, by the way. Already worth the trek out there. Arby's could never.
It was good. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Got a bunch of sides.
We split onion rings and their corn fritters.
Yeah, corn nuggets. Yeah, I think that was it. Because we knew we were about to eat a whole other meal in about 45 minutes. Yeah.
You might assume that we embarked on this journey with little to no forethought, but shockingly, we actually did have a plan to help extend our endurance heading into the second meal.
In our head, we were like, all right, they're kind of in the same neighborhood, but like not right next to each other or anything. So it would be like, I don't know, 30 minutes by taking the bus or something, or like a 45 minute walk. So we were like, let's just walk it, and then that way we'll like work off some of the meal we just ate and we'll be a little hungrier again.
How did you feel when we got to Roll and Roaster?
I felt like I had just eaten an entire meal. Like I had just eaten an entire roast beef sandwich with a bunch of sides.
Yeah, I was more full when we got to Roll and Roaster than I was when we left Brennan Carr, because that's how food works.
Right.
Like, it was not, like if we had waited 3 or 4 hours, maybe.
Exactly.
I said we had a plan. Didn't say it was a good plan. Anyway, about 45 minutes after we left Brennan and Carr, we arrived, by foot, to the second and final stop on our rally, Roll and Roaster. When we got there, we snapped this picture outside.
I remember a fun development was, while we were doing it, we were in a group text with our girlfriends.
Anthony and I had already sent our girls a picture of the two of us eating at Brennan and Carr. Then we sent them this new selfie from outside Roll and Roaster.
I'm sure I told her what I was doing before I went, but my girlfriend, Laura, must have forgotten. And she just realized at that moment that we were about to do the roast beef rally. And she was pretty upset.
With or without Laura's blessing, we headed into Roll and Roaster to eat our second meal in as many hours. And buddy, this ain't your father's roast beef sandwich spot.
Roll and Roasters has a pretty different vibe. I describe it as like a Wendy's from like the 90s. It's got like the little sunroom type thing that Wendy's used to have. It seemed like a little bit more of a fun, like, upbeat kind of place than Brennan and Carr, which is fun in its own way. If you spend more than $40, I think, they just give you a whole pizza, like a free pizza. You can buy champagne there, like a bottle of champagne for like $60. They have a wheel you can spin when it's your birthday.
I think they used to have the staff on roller skates.
Oh, I just thought it was because it comes on a roll. Like they say on the menu, we'll put cheese on everything. So I don't know how far that goes, but I'm sure if you asked for cheese on your lemonade, they would put it.
Don't worry, we didn't get cheese in our lemonade. But not because that's beneath us. We were just focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, we got there, we were really full, and then we were like, all right, we're doing what we came here to do. And we got pretty much the same things. We both got a roast beef sandwich. We also got their corn fritters, and I think they have a special, like, potato. I think it's called cottage fries or something like that, with, like, the circular medallions of potato.
Did we get empanadas, too?
Oh, no, those were the dessert, like, little pies they have.
God fucking Christ.
We ended up ordering enough stuff to get a free pizza. And they like made one and they were about to give it to us with our meal and we were like, no. Take that away from us. You don't understand. We just ate an entire meal at Arrival.
Yeah, they presented us with the full pizza and
we were like, give it to somebody else, please.
Months later, or maybe a year later, we went back to Roll and Roaster and that time we did get the pizza.
Yeah.
Do you remember how the pizza was?
It was miserable. It was so bad. You understand why they give it to you for free.
It feels like they found a bunch of pizzas like in the alley and they were like, please take it.
Yeah.
It was awful.
But back to the rally. We got our food and ate as much as we could. It was all incredible. I also have something to admit. Despite our best efforts, I unfortunately can't say that we won the roast beef rally.
I don't think we ended up being able to finish everything.
No, I probably got 2/3 into my sandwich and I had to stop. So I took at least a third of my sandwich back home. I did finish it later that day, but I did not finish it at Roll and Roasters. I couldn't get through it. It was too much.
Yeah, I think I tried my best, but I think I also brought some of it home.
But we still ate a lot of beef that day, and we were able to pick which side of the South Brooklyn roast beef rivalry we stood on.
I think we both might have preferred Roll and Roaster to Brennan and Carr, so I guess in that rivalry, that's where we fall.
It was a much more fun vibe. Like, Brennan and Carr feels like where my grandpa goes for roast beef, and Roll and Roaster feels like where the kids go. But also, I did like the sandwich better. It had more flavor to it, which is why the next time we go to Brennan and Carr, we're gonna get the fork and knife job.
Right.
Some inside baseball for you guys. We did go back to Brennan and Carr to film some extra B-roll for this video, and I did get the knife and fork job, and it was really, really great. But Anthony got something else. He got something called the Gargiulo burger, which is their roast beef sandwich with a burger patty on it. It was named after the employees of a nearby restaurant who used to order that specialty a lot, so much that they added it to the menu officially. And that was really great too. Anyway, after eating our absolute fill, all that was left for our inaugural roast beef rally was the journey home.
Yeah, I think we finished what we could at Roll and Roaster. We were both pretty full, and we were like, all right, we got to get to this train to go back home. And we can either walk to the train, or we can ride a bus. That'll save us 3 minutes of walking. And we were both like, let's take the bus, because we don't want to walk. There's too much food in us.
We both made it home safely, full of roast beef and full of regrets.
I wouldn't do it again. I didn't get to enjoy Roll and Roaster as much So I wouldn't do them both again on the same day.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
We did it because we're dumb.
Well,
and because we didn't want to make 2 trips out there.
Like, if you're visiting New York and you're in Sheepshead Bay, you're probably only going to spend a day there, if that.
Right.
So if you want to get them both, like you want to try them both, for the love of God, share it.
Yeah. I also think most people know to not do this. We're talking like these are insider tips, and people are probably like, yeah, dumbass, don't eat 2 whole meals one after the other. That's not a hard thing to figure out.
So that was the roast beef rally. And after going to both, I can honestly recommend that if you're ever in South Brooklyn, you should try both restaurants. I just can't recommend that you try to eat an entire sandwich and sides at both places back to back on the same day. I mean, we definitely won't be doing that again.
Oh, I did find out about a place that, it's not really in that area, but it's a little further west, but apparently they're also kind of famous for their roast beef sandwich.
Okay.
And they're kind of in South Brooklyn, but I don't think it's in that like rivalry. It's just like another place that is known for their...
Oh, what's it called?
Jon's Deli. Yeah, it's this one.
A few months after recording our conversation for this video, Anthony and I made plans to go out to Jon's Deli for lunch. But we discovered something unexpected when we were looking up directions. There are actually 2 Jon's Delis in South Brooklyn, and they're both famous for their roast beef sandwiches. And they're in a rivalry with each other. So we changed our plans and we decided to go to both delis, back to back, on the same day. Next time. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. If you'd like to see more stories like this, please consider joining my Patreon page for between $1 and $5 a month. The more people sign up, the faster I can make more videos. Patrons get access to exclusive content, like previously unreleased videos and skits from my past, my monthly newsletter, and so much more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.